From Lester Holt to Norah O'Donnell, why are anchors leaving the news desk? The recent announcement of Lester Holt's departure from his role as the anchor of NBC Nightly News has left the media landscape in a state of contemplation. Holt, a trusted and respected name in journalism, is the latest in a series of high-profile exits from major television news networks. His decision to transition to a new role at Dateline signals not only a personal career shift, but also an ongoing transformation within the broadcast journalism industry. This trend raises an important question. Why are so many prominent news anchors stepping away from their desks? And what does this mean for the future of television news? A wave of departures in broadcast journalism. Holt's departure is not an isolated incident. Over the past year, the television news industry has witnessed the exit of several well-known anchors. Chuck Todd stepped away from Meet the Press in 2023 and later left NBC News entirely. Hoda Kotb said goodbye to Today in January. Norah O'Donnell's final CBS evening news broadcast aired last month. Meanwhile, MSNBC has been undergoing its own shake-up, with Joy Reid and Alex Wagner stepping down as weeknight anchors. This mass exodus of veteran journalists has sparked widespread speculation about the factors driving these changes. These shifts are occurring at a time when traditional TV news is facing significant challenges. The advent of digital media, the dominance of social media platforms, and shifting audience behaviors have all contributed to a declining reliance on traditional newscasts. Additionally, political polarization and growing distrust of mainstream media have created an increasingly hostile environment for journalists. As a result, the role of a network news anchor has evolved, and not necessarily in a way that makes it more appealing to those who have held these prestigious positions. The erosion of trust in traditional news media the past decade has seen a growing distrust in mainstream media, fueled in part by political figures who have actively campaigned against the press. The phrase fake news became a popular attack on journalists, and news organizations found themselves defending their credibility more than ever before. This erosion of trust has placed a significant burden on anchors, who must not only deliver the news, but also work to maintain audience confidence in their reporting. Lester Holt, who has been with NBC for decades, built a reputation as a reliable and impartial journalist. However, even his earned trust may not be enough to combat the growing skepticism among viewers. For many who have followed news media closely, his departure signifies yet another shift away from the era when network anchors were seen as authoritative figures akin to Walter Cronkite. Viewers who have already become disillusioned with traditional media may see his exit as another reason to disengage further. The changing nature of news consumption. In the digital age, the way people consume news has changed drastically. Gone are the days when a nightly news broadcast was the primary source of information for millions of Americans. Instead, news is now consumed through social media, podcasts, online articles, and streaming services. Platforms like YouTube, Twitter, now X, and TikTok allow users to access breaking news instantly, often from independent journalists or citizen reporters, rather than traditional networks. This shift has diminished the influence of traditional news anchors, whereas figures like Dan Rather, Tom Brokaw, and Peter Jennings once served as the gatekeepers of information. Today's audiences have an overwhelming number of choices for where they get their news. Consequently, the role of the network anchor has become less essential, leading to an identity crisis within the industry. For seasoned journalists like Holt O'Donnell, and Todd. Stepping away from the nightly news desk may be a way of acknowledging this change and adapting to a new era of journalism. The pressure and burnout of the anchor role. Being a network news anchor is not an easy job. It requires long hours, intense scrutiny, and the ability to remain composed under pressure. In an era where news cycles move at breakneck speed, the demands on anchors have only intensified. Breaking news can happen at any moment, requiring anchors to be constantly on call and prepared to report on crises, political upheavals, and global events. Who has spent years covering some of the most pivotal moments in recent history, the decision to transition to Dateline may be a way to continue impactful journalism without the relentless daily grind of a live newscast. Similarly, O'Donnell's new role as a senior correspondent allows her the flexibility to focus on in-depth reporting rather than the rigid structure of an evening news broadcast. This move away from the anchor desk to more flexible roles suggests that journalists are prioritizing longevity and quality over the constant pressure of daily news coverage. Network restructuring and the future of TV news. Another major factor in these departures is the changing priorities of television networks. As audience numbers decline, networks are reevaluating their news divisions, often opting for cost-cutting measures and strategic shifts in programming. The replacement of O'Donnell with a co-anchor format at CBS is a clear example of this trend. Rather than relying on a single anchor to carry the weight of a newscast, networks are experimenting with different approaches that place more emphasis on field reporting and correspondent-driven coverage. This restructuring reflects a broader industry trend in which the role of a central news anchor is being de-emphasized. Instead of focusing on star power, networks are shifting towards a more collective approach to news delivery. While this may make sense from a business perspective, it also raises concerns about the loss of trusted voices in journalism. The days of having a singular, authoritative figure delivering the evening news may be coming to an end, and it remains to be seen how audiences will respond to this evolution. What comes next for the news industry? The departure of high-profile anchors like Holt and O'Donnell signifies a broader transition in television news. While the industry is certainly facing challenges, it is also an opportunity for reinvention. The future of news may lie in a more diverse range of voices and storytelling formats. Digital-first journalism, investigative reporting, and multimedia storytelling are all growing areas that could shape the next generation of news consumption. As network news continues to adapt, new faces will inevitably emerge to take the place of those who have stepped away. However, these new anchors will face a different reality, one in which trust must be rebuilt, attention spans are shorter, and the competition for viewership is fiercer than ever. The challenge will be not only to deliver the news, but also to connect with an audience that has more choices than ever before. Conclusion: the end of an era. Lester Holt's departure from NBC Nightly News is emblematic of a larger shift in the television news industry. Along with Chuck Todd, Hoda Kotb, and Norah O'Donnell, Holt represents a generation of journalists who established their credibility before the digital revolution and the rise of political polarization. Their exits mark the end of an era in which nightly news anchors were central figures in American media. While it's easy to view these departures as a loss, they may also signal the beginning of a new phase in journalism, one that embraces digital platforms, new formats, and a more decentralized approach to news dissemination. Whether this will lead to a stronger, more resilient press or further fragmentation remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: The role of the traditional news anchor is evolving, and the news industry must evolve with it.